Engines roar, horns blare, a single mistake, then chaos. Metal crushes, lights flare, silence falls. Every heartbeat caught on camera. This is real, this is impact. Buckle up. Hitting a slick stretch of ice, the driver fights to regain control. But the skid only intensifies, ending in a violent collision with a car coming from the opposite direction. During takeoff, the aircraft struggles to stabilize. Suddenly, it pitches downward and crashes, followed by a massive blast that illuminates the runway. Losing control on the slick road, the car slides into the opposite lane. A moment later, it smashes into an approaching vehicle with tremendous force. An SUV speeds along the shoulder, kicking up dust as it goes. Suddenly, a fence appears ahead. The vehicle slams into it and rebounds into the air from the impact. Roadside poles came crashing down onto the passing vehicles, but thankfully, no one was hurt. While attempting to park, the driver grazes the car behind, then taps the one in front. After a few seconds, the vehicle finally settles awkwardly into the space. A speeding car loses control and swerves off course. It slams into a row of parked vehicles, sending shards of metal and glass flying. A truck tries to clear the tracks as the barrier begins to lower. Just moments later, a fast-moving train slams into its rear, ripping through the trailer in a violent impact. A compact car tries to pass on a narrow stretch of road. In an instant, it crashes head-on with an oncoming truck. The car loses grip on the icy surface and starts to skid sideways. With no control remaining, it smashes into the line of parked cars. A speeding car barrels into an intersection, unable to halt in time. It breaks through the roadside edge and slides out into an open field. A man steps into the road, oblivious to the danger ahead. The speeding lorry swerves to avoid him, but the shoulder collapses, sending the massive vehicle plunging into the river below. The car miscalculates the gap and gently taps a motorcycle slowing ahead. Fortunately, the rider maintains his balance and no one is injured. A heavy truck loaded with concrete beams struggles to keep steady on icy pavement. As it skids out of control, the massive beams spill into the opposite lane, barreling straight toward oncoming traffic. At a busy junction, two vehicles cross paths. In an instant, a loud smash disrupts the flow of traffic. A compact car loses control and crashes into an ambulance ahead. The blow sends the emergency vehicle skittering across the ice, sliding helplessly toward the shoulder. A car moves to pass and tries to merge back into its lane too quickly. It skids, spins out of control, and collides with an oncoming vehicle. The car strikes a deep pothole at top speed, one that acts like a ramp. In an instant, it launches into the air, soaring several meters before smashing back down onto the road. At a snowy junction, a car turns slowly across the lane. Suddenly, another vehicle rushes in and strikes it hard, the collision shattering the stillness of the scene. While overtaking on the icy road, the car loses grip. It slides sideways into the oncoming lane and collides with an approaching vehicle. A tractor climbs a slight incline, fighting to keep its balance. Suddenly, it leans too far and rolls backward, crashing heavily onto the ground. At a crowded junction, two cars enter at the same moment. Neither slows down, and the inevitable collision follows with a sharp, echoing smash. The driver nods off for just a moment. That moment is enough. The car smashes into a truck's rear wheel and overturns violently. The car slides across the icy road, tires spinning futilely. A moment later, it crashes into a roadside pole with a brutal jolt. A small car surges ahead with no sign of slowing. In an instant, it slams full force into the back of a truck, the jolt rattling the entire roadway. The plane wavers in the air, struggling to keep its heading. Moments later, it plunges to the ground, sending a vast cloud of smoke billowing skyward. A heavy lorry drifts too near the shoulder. It plows into a parked car, crushing the smaller vehicle beneath its weight. A truck loses grip on the icy road, spinning like a merry-go-round. After several rotations, it slides straight into a parked car with a heavy impact. A car suddenly halts in the middle of the road. With split-second reflexes, the driver behind swerves just in time, narrowly avoiding a serious wreck. A heavy lorry stalls in the middle of the level crossing. Moments later, a fast-moving train rams into it, ripping through the metal in a brutal collision. The truck driver doesn't realize his vehicle has rolled under a fence. As he steps on the accelerator, the truck strains against the metal until the rear wheels lift off the ground, pinned by the barrier behind. A car began smashing into everything around it, and a nearby motorist rushed over, only to find, unbelievably, that a dog was at the wheel trying to steal the car.
Yes.
Losing control, the compact car veers onto the shoulder. Within seconds, it crashes into a passing truck, the impact echoing across the roadway. A small car smashes into a stationary vehicle at top speed. The force of the blow flips it over, leaving it upside down on the roadway. A truck makes a turn with a long metal beam jutting from its bed. The beam spans the roadway, and the car behind plows straight into it, unable to stop in time. At a busy junction, a driver fails to brake in time and rear-ends the car ahead. The impact flips the vehicle over, sending it rolling violently across the asphalt. A truck slammed into a bus at high speed, startling the man who was hurrying toward it. He might have been late for work, but fortune kept him outside. At a quiet tire shop, everything seems routine until a sudden blast shatters the calm. Within seconds, smoke and fragments fill the air, turning an ordinary day into turmoil. A large lorry barrels down the opposite lane with its rear door flapping open. As it passes a small car, the door snags it, hauling the helpless vehicle along in a terrifying instant. A small car loses control and swerves toward a man standing beside his vehicle. He leaps just in time, landing on the hood as the car screeches to a stop. A massive lorry hurtles down the road, unable to slow in time. It plows into a small car ahead, the size disparity making the impact devastating. A small car travels too near a heavy lorry on a crowded road. In an instant, it's pulled beneath the enormous wheels, leaving no time to respond. A car blasts through a red light, disregarding the danger. From the right, a massive truck charges into the junction, plowing into the car before rolling over it. A gasoline tanker drifts onto the shoulder as the driver nods off. It slams into a fence, and within seconds, the rear tank flips and detonates in a fiery blast witnessed by passing cars. A car suddenly swerves off the road and mounts the sidewalk. It smashes into a wall, narrowly missing a person lying just a few feet away. Traffic moves smoothly along the busy avenue when, with a sharp bang, the manhole covers rocket into the air, startling everyone nearby. Two cars end up in a strange crash, one teetering on top of the other's bonnet. When the lower car backs up, the one above slams down with a loud thud. The video captures a single curb where vehicles of every kind keep wrecking. Cars, motorcycles, even scooters. It's as if this stretch of road is jinxed, claiming one driver after another.
From Victor Martins, is he going to take the lead from Alex Dunn? Oh!
During the race, a single error triggers a domino effect. Cars spin out, collide, and stack up in a massive wreck across the track. The truck skids on the slick road, its tires losing grip. Moments later, it slams into the car ahead with a heavy, crushing impact. At a busy junction, two cars collide in a sudden smash. Moments later, at the very same spot, an SUV loses control and crashes into a pole. A driver films a truck crawling down the road. Its twisted chassis and smashed panels lay bare the aftermath of a serious wreck. A small courier van moves steadily down the crowded street. Then, moments later, it detonates without warning, transforming the routine drive into turmoil. The car slides on the slick road and drifts across the center line. In the next moment, it crashes head-on with an approaching vehicle. A car vaulted through the air above the road. Not Superman, not a meteor, but an actual vehicle hurtling at full speed. A heavy lorry approaches too fast to brake in time. Within seconds, it plows into the queue of waiting cars ahead, metal crunching under its unstoppable weight. Security camera footage shows an ordinary shift at the factory when, without warning, a fierce inferno erupts, engulfing the building in mere moments. As one car gingerly enters the junction, another rockets in from the right. The crash is abrupt and savage, the sound of impact reverberating through the crossroads. The camera sweeps across a tranquil horizon. In the distance, a colossal fireball blossoms, climbing into the sky like a blazing mushroom cloud. A delivery lorry loses control on a congested stretch of roadway. The collision with a heavy barrier sends the larger truck rolling onto its side in a plume of dust. The rocket lifts off with a thunderous roar, climbing steadily into the heavens. But within seconds it pitches downward, diving nose first toward the ground before detonating in a blazing explosion. Late at night in a car dealership, everything seems calm. Then suddenly, one of the parked vehicles ignites, setting the entire room aglow with flames. A delivery van veers into the oncoming lane without warning. In a split second, it crashes head-on with a small car, sending both vehicles spinning. Two cars approach the junction from opposite directions. What looks like a routine turn turns into chaos as they smash head-on in a split second. Two aircraft collide mid-air, spiraling out of control. Moments later, one slams into the ground and detonates in a massive fireball. A car speeds toward a junction as another begins to turn. With the road glazed in ice, the driver has no chance to stop, and the collision is sudden and severe. A truck's tire suddenly blows out, the sound echoing across the road. Losing control, it swerves into the adjacent lane and collides with a passing car. A car swerves into the oncoming lane without warning. Within seconds, it crashes into approaching vehicles, turning the roadway into a scene of chaos. The driver nods off behind the wheel, the car slowly drifting over the center line. When he comes to, it's too late. A truck is bearing straight toward him, and the crash is unavoidable. The driver lost control and crashed straight into a pricey parked car, turning a mistake into an expensive accident. The car slides helplessly across the icy surface, its tires spinning without traction. Moments later, it drifts off the road and comes to rest in the snowy ditch. A cyclist crosses the road without getting off. The car ahead brakes sharply to avoid hitting him, but the vehicle behind can't stop in time and crashes into it. Two aircraft converge in the clear air, their trajectories tragically aligned. In an instant, they smash head-on, one corkscrews out of control and slams down in a blazing plunge. Two cars charge toward each other on a snowy road, visibility fading in the winter haze. A moment later, they collide head-on, the force of impact scattering debris across the frozen ground. A car misjudges the crossing and pulls onto the tracks. Within seconds, a train slams into its side with irresistible force. The truck driver lost command and slammed into a car, a stark reminder to stay vigilant on the road. The vessel glides calmly over the water, its occupants at ease and unsuspecting. Suddenly, fire breaks out on deck, and the crew scrambles frantically to extinguish the blaze. As the car begins its turn, the driver fails to spot another vehicle barreling toward the intersection. The impact is sudden, a brief lapse in judgment ending in a violent crash. A car rear-ends the vehicle ahead, the impact jolting it off course. Moments later, it crashes into a roadside pole, coming to an abrupt stop. The driver nods off, his car gradually drifting into the oncoming lane. A truck approaches head-on, and the crash is immediate and catastrophic. While turning the corner, the driver fails to notice a low barrier ahead. The car strikes it head-on, the sudden jolt shattering the calm of the street. At a busy junction, two trucks slam into each other. One rolls onto its side, dumping sand from its open bed across the roadway. A small car loses traction on the ice, sliding sideways with no control. Moments later, it slips off the road and comes to a stop on the snowy shoulder. Losing command on a calm stretch, the driver drifts offline. The car smashes into a pole, the hit reverberating through the quiet air. A car cuts off a smaller vehicle, trying to force its way ahead, but karma hits quickly. It loses control, overturns, and tumbles off the roadway. Attempting to pass on an icy road, the driver loses control as the tires slide sideways. Within moments, the car drifts into oncoming traffic, and catastrophe becomes unavoidable. The SUV's driver nods off in traffic, hands still on the wheel. Moments later, the vehicle plows into a stationary car stuck at the head of the jam. A tranquil street turns tumultuous as a car slides into a bus's lane. In an instant, serenity yields to disaster. A compact car grazes the side of an SUV while changing lanes. The hit sends the larger vehicle tumbling over in a violent spin. The car ahead begins to weave unpredictably. Moments later, the driver behind can't react in time, and a sudden crash ensues. A truck loaded with logs moves steadily down the road. Suddenly, another truck slams into its rear, the impact sending logs scattering across the highway. The car slides over a sheet of ice, its tires losing all traction. A moment later, it pirouettes across the center line and crashes head-on with an approaching vehicle. The bridge stands solid over the running river, a picture of steadiness. Then, with a sudden rumble, its framework fails and collapses into the waters below. In a quiet neighborhood, a manhole suddenly detonates beside parked cars. Thick white smoke pours out, engulfing the street within moments. In wintry conditions, a car lost control and smashed into another at top speed, a truly harrowing crash on slick, icy roads. At night, a car cruises calmly along a dark road, but up ahead, a truck sits unlit. Before the driver can react, the car plows straight into it. Inside the warehouse, rows of electronic merchandise sit tidily stacked. Then sparks appear, and within moments, flames race outward as panicked workers sprint to get out. The truck's brakes fail, and it launches off the road, tumbling down the steps. For a moment, the vehicle hangs in the air, nearly overturning before slamming to the ground and continuing its wild drive. A stolen vehicle lost control and smashed into the fence, leaving a wake of devastation. At the junction, one car begins a cautious turn, but another speeding straight through crashes into it. The quiet street erupts with the sound of impact. A large cargo truck is parked at the shoulder, smoke slowly lifting from its bonnet as bystanders take out their phones, filming in shock while flames start to spread. An intoxicated driver zigzags down the street in mayhem. One after another, parked cars fall prey to his reckless route. The plane picks up speed along the runway, engines thunder with power. Suddenly it comes apart and detonates, turning the takeoff into a blazing catastrophe. A truck thunders down the road when flames suddenly erupt from its chassis. Within seconds, the vehicle is engulfed, forcing the driver to stop and bail out. A bus crossing the railway tracks collided with a train, a terrifying moment that shows how a split-second mistake can lead to catastrophe. A plane drops low above the motorway, fighting to remain airborne. Moments after, it slams onto the pavement and ignites in a blazing blast, an astonishing yet terrifying scene. A race car rockets down the circuit at blistering speed before losing control. It pirouettes violently, cartwheeling across the surface in a haze of dust and twisted metal. The car skids uncontrollably on the icy road, its tires scraping for traction. A second later, it crashes into an oncoming vehicle, a split-second slip turning into calamity. The driver loses command in an abrupt turn. The vehicle veers offline and smashes straight into a pole with a brutal jolt. A truck hauls a car on a rope, moving steadily along the bumpy road. When it strikes a hump, the towed vehicle sways violently to the side, smashing into several parked cars, leaving a wake of damage behind. The truck lost control and slammed into a car, a stark reminder of how quickly crashes can happen. Inside a repair shop, a luxury car is raised for maintenance. But when the supports give way, the vehicle drops to the floor, sustaining severe damage in seconds. On a quiet village lane, a driver loses control. The car veers off course and slams straight into a utility pole.
So I went horse hunting.
A car veers into the opposite lane, barreling toward traffic. Moments later, it smashes into oncoming vehicles, sending debris scattering across the roadway. The lorry driver fails to notice a small car trying to change lanes. In a terrifying instant, the vehicle is trapped and crushed between two towering trucks. A driver wedges a bottle inside the steering wheel, laughing as he films himself, hands-free. But the moment of fun turns to panic when the truck wanders off the road and crashes violently. A truck drives beneath a bridge, misjudging its clearance. The roof scrapes the underside, sending bits of concrete crumbling down from above. A driver tries to cut off the car ahead, pushing the risk a bit too far. Within seconds, the maneuver backfires. The car fishtails and slams into a roadside fence. High in the mountains, drivers make their way along a narrow roadway. Suddenly, massive boulders break free and thunder down onto the passing cars below. As the car races down the road, a sudden blast tears through the front. The bumper rips off entirely, scattering fragments across the asphalt. An intoxicated driver raced down the road, smashing into everything in his way. After parking, he strolled off as if nothing occurred, but officers soon apprehended him. The car loses control on the icy pavement, sliding sideways into approaching traffic. Within seconds, it crashes into a moving truck, the impact rattling the entire roadway. A patrol car races through with its lights flashing. Suddenly, it slides on the slick roadway and slams hard into the roadside fence. A passing car's dashcam records an unremarkable stretch of roadway when, without warning, a blazing crimson blast billows up like a mushroom cloud, saturating the sky with shock and awe. The driver brakes hard without warning, leaving the car behind no time to respond. Forced to swerve into the oncoming lane, the trailing vehicle collides head-on with another car. A van tries to cross the railway just as the barriers descend, trapping it on the tracks. With nowhere to go, the driver can only wait until a speeding train plows into the rear of the vehicle. Two cars reach the junction from opposing directions. In a split second of miscalculation, they crash, flinging debris across the roadway. A car disregards the lowered gate and drives onto the tracks. Mere seconds later, a train hurtles through, smashing into the vehicle with devastating force. At a crowded junction, a car speeds through and slams into a passing van. The collision is so forceful that the van overturns, coming to rest on its side. An SUV tries to cut in front of a truck, but the truck won't give way. Forced to respond, the SUV veers onto the shoulder, barely avoiding a crash. At an intersection, a small mound of dirt and a downed tree sit in the middle of the road. A speeding car strikes them head-on, launching into the air before smashing back down with a thunderous impact. A driver shows off by drifting in a supermarket car park. But the thrill ends quickly. The car spins out of control and crashes into a pole. A bus fails to spot the car in front and slams straight into it. Pinned between two buses, the small car is mangled in a terrifying press of metal and glass. A trolley bus rolls forward as two cars hesitate to clear the lane. With no time to brake, it plows into both, shoving them aside with its tremendous weight. A speeding car fails to notice a stopped vehicle ahead. The collision turns the parked car into a ramp, catapulting the speeding vehicle into the air for a startling, gravity-defying moment. An ambulance barrels through a red light, sirens wailing. But a speeding car enters the same junction, colliding with it and flipping the ambulance onto its side. The camera captures a startling scene, a bus engulfed in towering flames. Thick smoke billows skyward as the fire devours the vehicle within moments. Two cars enter the junction at the same moment, a split-second misjudgment, and they collide in the middle of the crossing. The driver loses control and drifts onto the shoulder. Within seconds, the car skids sideways and overturns with a thunderous crash. Crazy crashes, epic saves. Don't blink. Like and subscribe for more jaw-dropping moments.